A very warm welcome to the famous Paulskirche in Frankfurt and a very warm welcome to the International High-Rise Award 2020. Tonight we are here to honor some of the world's greatest architects and developers of high-rise buildings over 100 meters. Since its joint initiation in 2003 by the city of Frankfurt, Deutsches Architekturmuseum and DK Bank, the International High-Rise Award has been bestowed 8 times. Tonight, the 9th winner will be announced here in this really incredible building. The Paulskirche has always stood as a symbol of freedom, of peace and of democracy. It serves, particularly in these trying times, as an important reminder why these things should never be taken for granted, and so remains the ideal place to host this ceremony. Yeah, 2020 has been, and unfortunately remains, to put it delicately, an interesting and challenging year for all of us. A year in which more than ever before we understood the importance of having a place to feel safe. So I'd suggest let's celebrate these brilliant people who design buildings that make us feel safe and at home. Buildings that are sustainable, buildings that intelligently combine the outside and the inside and promote socially responsible planning processes. A celebration used to mean people gathering to chat and cheer and have a glass of wine or maybe 2 or 3, but the corona pandemic makes this impossible for the time being. So instead, we are striking a new path and celebrate together online. Yay! Maybe you remember all the famous pop song, La Boom. Streams are now reality. That might sound sad, but don't worry, I'm not alone here tonight. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to introducing to your lovely hosts for the evening. But before we get to that, let me invite you to join me on a little journey through time, through the history of the International High-Rise Award. Fasten your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen.
Giving the architecture the role of reconciling ourselves with the nature, not just because of marketing.
Dieser Preis schafft es immer wieder, die Entwicklungen des Hochhausbaus weltweit abzubilden.
Wir beurteilten das Themenfeld nach folgenden Kriterien: zukunftsweisende Gestaltung, hohe Funktionalität, innovative Bautechnik, ökologische Nachhaltigkeit und eine hohe Wirtschaftlichkeit sowie eine gelungene städtebauliche Einbindung und bestimmten 5 Finalisten sowie den diesjährigen Preisträger.
Der Sieger des diesjährigen Hochhauspreises ist Bosco Verticale in Milano.
Uncanny ability to generate life and to host, even in the most polluted and congested cities in the wealth of the living space.
Der Internationale Hochhauspreis 2016 geht an Wir 57 West Manhattan, New York.
I'm especially excited to be receiving this award here in Frankfurt, also known as Manhattan. Of course, I would very much like to express my gratitude to the jury, to the city of Frankfurt, to DK.
Der Internationale Hochhauspreis 2018 geht an den Torre Reforma in Mexico City.
Mission accomplished. Maybe it's realized to my friends through the economical success. But for my personal career, this important recognition clearly represents my peers' validation of the architecture explored through my life. All I can say to you is that this is a great moment in my life. Vielen Dank. Muchas gracias. And thank you very much to everybody.
Incredible. People really sitting next to each other and even touching each other. What fabulous memories. But let's leave nostalgia behind for now and return to our evening, as it is time to welcome your wonderful and lovely hosts for tonight. Deputy Mayor in charge of culture of the city of Frankfurt and International High-Rise Award jury member. Please welcome Dr. Ina Hartwig.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. Thank you very much. And next, I'm delighted to introduce you to Dr. Matthias Danne, Executive Vice President of DK Bank. Great to have you here as well. And last but not least, the fabulous director of Deutsches Architekturmuseum, curator, architect, International High-Rise Award jury member, Peter Katschola-Schmal. Thank you all for being the hosts tonight. And I say, let's talk about the award a little bit. Ladies first, Frau Dr. Hartwig. I have actually two questions in one. What is the significance of this award and why is it awarded here in the city of Frankfurt?
I think it was a genius idea to create this award here in Frankfurt. And why is it so? It's a good place to for self-reflection on high-rises. I mean, in Germany, you only have one city with such a skyline than in Frankfurt. It's here.
Yeah.
And we are really proud to host this award here in the Paulskirche in Frankfurt. It's, as you mentioned it, the place of the first democratic parliament in Germany in 1848. It was constituted here. So it's a good place to celebrate this prize, which talks the language of the future more than of the tradition. And what is so impressive in Frankfurt, I think, is the juxtaposition of old European structures of the town with this modern architectural language of high-rises. And this makes Frankfurt so specific. And I think it's the right place to celebrate this prize. In the last 16 years, the skyline changed a lot. It's more dense, it's more global, and all the questions which are important when we think about the future role of high-rises in big cities, we think about it here. So it's the right place to celebrate this wonderful award.
Absolutely. So you've just said it's a juxtaposition. People love it to live in a modern yet traditional city. So what role do high-rise buildings play for the identity and the culture of the city?
I think it's very important for the identity of Frankfurt. People here in Frankfurt are used to live with these high-rise buildings, and they love it. It's, as I mentioned, it's the proximity of old and modern structures. It's normal here. It's not an exception like in other German cities. So perhaps we are the most global city in Germany, but the special thing for Europe is this proximity of old and modern structures, which you don't find in America or in the Asian world. And people in Frankfurt, I mean, it's an international city. People come from everywhere in the world. They love this mixture.
Mm-hmm. Herr Dr. Danne, what was the initial spark for the development of the International High-Rise Award and the partnership, especially with the DK Bank?
I think there were a couple of sparks in those days. One, and the most important may be that the Sparkassen Group is a group in Germany, a banking group, which supports social and other initiatives in a strong manner. Mm. We are part of this group, so it's part of our identity to give social and regional commitment. So having said that, it was in those days for us also important to create or to develop a new idea. The idea to create an award which has never been seen in the world, brand new, the High-Rise Award, and are we able to bring that alive? So that was a second spark. We teamed up with our friends from City of Frankfurt. We teamed up with the Deutsche Architekturmuseum, and the three of us, we had the challenge to create something like this, what we see here. And 16 years later, we are a little bit proud, I think I can say that also for you and for you, that we were successful in that. But that was the second part. And last but not least, it was important for our commercial and professional side, that we could support something like this, which is very closely combined with what we do in our business. So we have a business line in our company, which is real estate fund business, real estate lending. So we work with real estate, commercial real estate every day, and combining our support for this initiatives with business activities we have, were a perfect combination in those days. These are only 3 sparks. I could go on with some more, but
Yeah.
I think these are the most important.
Yeah. Let me drop a popular buzzword, sustainability. Everybody talks about sustainability these days, but it has always been an important criterion for the International High-Rise Award. Has what that means, sustainability, changed at all over the past 16 years?
It does. And to give you one example, sustainability has always been a component of the concept. So also in 2004, I could imagine, because it was before my time with Deka Bank, it was important. But it was different because in those days, it was something for cutting-edge experts in real estate. Today, it's in everybody's focus. So it changed a lot. Everybody's talking about sustainability in real estate today. That has been different 15 years ago. That's point one. The second point is, if you today have to make decisions in commercial real estate, you came across sustainability at every point of the value change of that business. So that is different from the former days. And that is good and helpful, but there's one problem today. All these rules for sustainability are unfortunately different in different places and countries in the world. So it's really complicated. That has been easier before.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Normally, 2 years ago, when the International High-Rise Award was bestowed here, there were 900 people sitting here. So we have now the corona pandemic situation. What effect does it have on the real estate market in general, and especially in the future of high-rise buildings?
Yeah, first of all, it's less fun to come here and give that award to the winners, because we are, not alone, but here are 20 people or something like that in this room, and this room is not made for 20 people, but that has nothing to do with real estate. So with regard to real estate, I would like to focus on 2 things. The first thing is, and maybe that is not a bad thing, is that Corona accelerated a couple of things which we had discussed in the industry for years. That is new workspace, mobile working, home office, all these things. We discussed that in length over, not decades, but over many years. And Corona accelerated all that. And after 7 months, 8 months, how long did this pandemic last? We have all that in every company in the whole world.
That's a positive
That's
side
a positive
aspect,
thing. There are not many, but that's a positive thing. And yeah, what is the most important, I don't know, but most surprising negative thing for real estate, high rises, is the elevator problem. Sounds easy, but it's complicated. Today, you can put not more than, I don't know, 2, 3, or 4 people in an elevator cab. And if you need to bring up 1,000, 2,000 people up to the 20th, 30th floor, you can imagine how that works if there are only 2 people in a cab.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem, and we do not have the solution for that. And this problem will last, I'm sure, even when Corona is already gone.
Yeah. So the good thing is 70% of the Deka Bank is in home office at the moment, so you don't have to queue in front of the elevator. Let's go to the third partnership, Peter Katschola-Schmal. The Deutsches Architekturmuseum is an important partner of the International High-Rise Award. What role do you play?
Well, to quote Dr. Danne, we are the cutting-edge experts in architecture in this game, meaning that we research among 2,000 projects built in the last 2 years, and we nominate the 31 projects for the jury itself. Then we contact the architects and bring in all their materials. We select the jury, and we organized the awards ceremony this year by Zoom because we couldn't meet. And together with our partners, we organized the PR and this award ceremony. Plus, we at the Dam organized the exhibition, which will open tomorrow for 3 days. And we published a catalog. So if you want to see the show, you have 3 more days.
Yeah. That's a good news, and I'm happy, speaking of good news, that you share your cutting-edge expertise with us tonight. You have a lot of knowledge and expert opinion on the 5 fabulous finalists we will now see. So I say you have the pleasure to start with the first one and announce the first finalist.
Yes. The first finalist is the Omni-Tomb here in Frankfurt, designed by Bjarke Ingels Group in Copenhagen and New York. And the client is the local Tishman Speyer Properties and the Commerzbank.
Hi, I'm Bjarke Ingels. I'm standing here in our Copenhagen headquarters, and we are incredibly honored to be nominated for the International High-Rise Award, presented by the Deutsches Architekturmuseum and Deka Bank for our Omni-Tomb in the heart of Frankfurt. The Omni-Tomb is not only special because we believe that it might be the only street crossing in Europe where you have a skyscraper on each corner. It is also unique because where you can say that most of the central business district of Frankfurt is entirely monoprogrammatic with commercial high-rises. The Omni-Tomb is sort of a sandwich of creative workspaces, places for living, and sort of high-end offices overlooking the nearby park. So this programmatic sandwich is expressed in the way that you have a straight-laced sort of central business district high-rise, but then in the middle where it turns residential, it has a sort of kick with the hip, or it is basically a twerking skyscraper that creates a series of sliding terraces for the residents before it stabilizes as work environment again. And this kind of very simple idea that is a pure expression of the programmatic requirements, creating terraces for the restaurants on the lower levels, terraces for the residents, and straightforward workspace for all of the people working there, ends up defining the architectural sort of identity. So you can say where a typical skyscraper might have various kinds of sort of architectural decor, in the case of the Omni-Tomb, it's very sort of diverse, programmatic, mixed-use character that ends up sort of prescribing the entire silhouette on the Frankfurt skyline.
The first and maybe one and only twerking finalist, the Omni-Tomb in Frankfurt. Now that we are very much in private, Frau Dr. Hartwig, here in the Paulskirche, you can confess, do you hope a little bit that the nominee from your hometown will win tonight, the Omni-Tomb?
Sure. But I must say it's already an honor to be under the 5 finalists. And this is really an exciting, elegant building. And which is so fascinating is that there are apartments in it and offices. So this mixture of functions is, I think, very contemporary, very good. And yeah, I like it, and I'm proud that Frankfurt is under the 5 finalists.
When you saw this building for the first time, have you seen it twerk in a way?
Pardon me?
Yeah. Because Bjarke Ingels said the building is twerking. It looks a bit like the twerk move.
Yeah.
Do you know this dance?
Yeah. That's the fun of the building.
Yeah. So you can imagine it dancing.
Yes, of course. It dances there in the street. And yeah, it's great.
Do you know what twerking is, Dr. Danne?
Not exactly, no. But we own a property in Hamburg called Dancing Towers. Maybe it's something like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit more, it's about the hips.
Okay.
So, you know the Omni-Tomb very well, Dr. Danne? Because you spent some time during construction work there with the architect Bjarke Ingels in 2016. Can you share some of your impressions from that time with us?
Yeah, but in those days I was not able to tour the tower with Bjarke because it was only a site. But we had the opportunity to talk about his concept 2 hours before the celebration here in Paulskirche in 2016, and we toured the site, and he explained me what he thought about how to build this tower, and I need to read it up. He explained to me what he intended to do. It was inner city hybrid use concept.
Oh, that sounds complicated.
I confess I didn't understand what that was in those days. But earlier this week, I had the opportunity to tour that tower again with the people from Tishman, the developers, and with one of the big tenants I'm familiar with. And I was really impressed. And now I understand better what he means with his concept. It is nicely designed. It is very efficient. It has a great sustainability in terms of high-rise buildings. And it has breathtaking views. And the last point is I'm a big Manhattan fan. Some people know that. And if you stand there, for example, in a corner of the 20th floor, and you look down Neue Mainzer Straße, with these three other high-rises on the corner of the junction, you get the feeling you're on 6th Avenue in Manhattan. The only missing thing is the yellow caps. So that's great. And I've never seen that before in Frankfurt or in another city in Europe. So yes, I'm very fascinated by that tower.
Yeah, it's nice in a town where you're not allowed to travel. You feel a little bit like in Manhattan.
That's
here
a good
at
point.
Yeah, it's an important point. Mr. Schmal, I'd suggest let's proceed to the second finalist.
The second finalist is not from New York, but from Beijing, China. It's the Lisa Soho by Zaha Hadid Architects from London, and the local client is Soho China Limited.
Zaha Hadid are very proud to be finalist in the International High-Rise Award with our Lisa Soho project. It's a new landmark on an urban hub condition, and the main feature, of course, here is the mega atrium. So we hollowed out that tower, a 200-meter tower, 45 stories, delivering a 200-meter plus mega atrium because it also dives down a number of levels. So what is unique here is that this atrium is also connected up to the urban spaces. There's a big urban window allowing views to the outside into the urban fabric and also inviting views in. The whole point is intervisibility, inter-awareness within the building, within a cluster of buildings. So to bring that project and that idea into a new tower, the last bastion of something which is serial, usually the core would segment off the different floors from each other, and even on the floor, the core would be usually an obstacle for communicating across the floor. So to take the core out, or split it up into smaller elements and then open up the cross levels, the interconnection, the intervisibility is the main feature here. The other beautiful aspect and challenge is the facade. There's an enormous elegance and simplicity to the appearance of the building, but the building's geometry is rather complex. The particular idea here is we have these shingles. They also allow ventilation to come in at the edge, and then these shingles flatten out as we come to the big urban window, and they become a kind of pure glass surface. And an additional feature is this movement of the urban cut, which gives a beautiful dynamism, and again is about tilting floors into view when you look up, when you look down, because this is a cluster of firms and small firms. Usually Soho, small home office, brings together startup companies, hundreds and thousands of smaller entities into their buildings. And that's what the purpose of this building is, and I think it will serve its purpose well.
Really, it's really an astonishing building, really breathtaking, Herr Schmal. I really like it. It's almost more a sculpture than a building in a way, isn't it?
It is. And Patrick Schumacher did it again. Yes, they built it. It's really done. It's 200 meters high, and this atrium is something we have never seen before. But what I really like about this building is that it's not the headquarters of a big corporate company, but it's the home of small offices, home offices, meaning small and medium-sized tenants, hundreds of them in this building. Yeah. So we have something like a big anthill in Beijing on the highway close to the new airport.
Yeah, close to it. And I heard that it's the tallest atrium in the world.
Yeah, wouldn't be allowed here.
Yeah, it's really amazing, yeah. So I'd say let's proceed with the third finalist. I'm curious what will be next.
The third finalist is the Stratford in London, UK, by Skidmore, Owings Merrill, SOM in London. And the client is the local Manhattan Loft Corporation.
We are here in Stratford, home to the 2012 London Olympics. And behind me is the Stratford, which is in the heart of the Queen Elizabeth Park, a 500-acre public space with leisure facilities as well as high-speed rail links. I think this building is really a testament of how we can actually put high-density development in the city and really think about the people who are going to occupy and use this building. We're very proud to take you through a tour, so welcome.
The building is located in Stratford, home of the 2012 Olympics and one of the capital's most dynamic and well-connected new metropolitan centers. The Stratford has become a powerful symbol of the area's growing importance, providing a new focus for the community and its social life. In creating the building, the team of architects and engineers focused on the idea of a vertical community. It would promote social interaction and reflect on the area's diversity. These carved-out spaces have been uniquely engineered double cantilevers, allowing 3 sky gardens to be necklaced up the building that residents can meet and interact. The ground floor lobby, along with the 3 communal sky gardens, are dispersed throughout the height of the tower, providing a range of experiences, from the active terrace above the hotel on level 7 to the more tranquil and contemplative spaces on level 25 and 36 at the top of the building. Collectively, the gardens provide more green space and the original site itself. The building offers significant outdoor space, with its important in the times of COVID-19, allowing everyone to access to fresh air, daylight, without needing to travel to the lobby or congest the lifts unnecessarily. The idea was not to create a standalone tower. We wanted to stimulate interaction and create vibrant internal communities that would really well integrated into the local area, drawing in visitors from all over and create a new destination in London. The Stratford plays a pivotal role in the regeneration of East London. It envisions a new model of how we can live in cities with public transport-driven communities that promote flexible living from a one-night stay to spending a lifetime.
A vertical community with sky gardens in the east of London. So this is very astonishing as well. So let's have a good look on the third finalist, Dr. Danne. This seems to be a very special mixed-use project. What do you think about this mix and this spatial setup especially?
Yeah, it seems to be. A strange thing is, in these strange times, I wasn't able to see it personally. So I was not even in the position to make a drive-by inspection or something like that. It's only 1 flight hour away, but we can't do that at the moment. So I'm talking a little bit like many people in these days of a desktop analysis I made. But the results of my desktop analysis of this impressive building are very, very positive. So exactly what you try to teaser is my impression. You have a very nice combination of home. You have 3 parks in your buildings, or at least 3 gardens, which are very nicely decorated. You have great hospitality in that building. There is a hotel, there are restaurants and things like that. In a location which is with regard to public transportation, perfect. In a not easy location of London, the east of London has been before the Olympics shaky. Since the Olympic, it's improving significantly, but it's still a special location in the east of London. So putting all that together in an iconic skyscraper, it is a very nice building, and I think it's a very eligible candidate for this award here.
All eligible candidates, I'd say. So, Herr Schmal, now it's time for our 4th finalist. It's your turn to announce it.
Yes, the 4th finalist is in Stockholm, Sweden, the Norra Tornen, by the Architects Office for Metropolitan Architecture, OMA, from Rotterdam, Netherlands, and by the local client Oscar Properties.
When we arrived on the scene in 2012, there was by the city architect already a very strongly defined building envelope that we had to stick to. We tried to stick to it and at the same time disobey it. The way we did that was that essentially the vertical segmentation of the building, we added a horizontal segmentation to the building. That generates this kind of beehive appearance of the building, which looks in nothing like the envelope we were prescribed, which is very interesting. And we simply did that by taking the even and the odd floors and mirroring them, simply rotating every other floor so that there is an alternating rhythm of living rooms with a very, very large unobstructed view onto the city and loggias immediately adjacent. Clearly, such a simple move allowed the building almost entirely to be prefabricated, both in terms of structure and in terms of facade, to actually make the building of a very, very limited number of elements, which we assembled to become the building. The building was built with an immense speed, almost a floor every 6 days, which also has made this a building for a very reasonable budget. The color of the building is very much in keeping with the color of the neighborhood, either brick buildings or stucco buildings. But our buildings are concrete, which we deliberately colored as though the concrete is brick. Here the towers with the entry road into the center of Stockholm, and here the view from the other direction where they flank the motorway. So they're both part of the modern and of the historical context of Stockholm.
Number 4, the Nordic finalist, Norra Tornen in Stockholm. And somehow the Swedes always seem to be one step ahead of anybody else in a way. For Dr. Hartwig, I love this double tower, and I've read that there are amenities and you can book via an app, a sauna, for example. So what enchanted you about this building?
It's just great, I think. It's how we will live in future. I think it will be more and more important to build high rises with apartments in it, because we need apartments in the big cities. So it's a future model, I think. And then I adore the manner how the tradition of Scandinavian architectural language is integrated in this building. When I was a child, I often traveled with my parents to Scandinavia, and I saw these huge windows and this tradition of good light and openness and equality. The Scandinavian societies tend to be equal. They have this ideal of being equal, and I see this realized in this wonderful high-rise building. So I'm really fascinated by it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can sit next to the window, and even when there's not that bright outside, you have enough light in your apartment. That's a beautiful thing. So, Herr Schmal, this was really beautiful. I'm curious which candidate will be next.
Well, another beautiful one. The 5th and the last finalist is the Eden in Singapore, by Heatherwick Architects from London, and the local clients are Swire Properties and Celestial Fortune.
We work best when we're collaborating with our commissioners. So we've grown this project, and in turn that project we hope will be the greenest residential set of apartments in Singapore. The geometry of a living space inspires how people come together. So this design that was developed, that we have a section of the model of, which was just based on making a series of these blades that are planted in the garden on our site. And in between is sort of stitched together these planters. That's all you see. And then the glass is all set back. So the actual mass is hidden within a truly three-dimensional facade.
Part of the typical residential apartment is the balconies, which are kind of plugged on the outside. So the building is planned out, and then balconies are kind of stuck on the outside of that. They're not really used. People don't go out there. They don't go out there because there isn't anything out there, but also they don't go out there because everyone looks at you and you're exposed. You'll notice our balconies are protected by the building itself. So when you're out there, you don't feel like you're exposed on all sides. You are protected in some way.
There's also a real intent to create pockets of intimacy. We could have designed one big balcony, but we've intentionally scaled them down. So there's actually 3. And we think with the way that's orchestrated, with how the planting is distributed, it creates these moments of real intimacy where you're surrounded by nature.
Rather than having just 2 aspects with the ability to open, our project has 3. You've suddenly got movement because there's breezes working through the building itself. There's an indoor and outdoor living potential. More than ever, we understand that the true integration of nature into your life is key to our mental health.
Now we all gotten an idea why this project is called Eden, like the Garden Eden. Mr. Schmal, now what's so special about this building? I think it's the amazing amount of green, isn't it?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, this is such an amazing lot of green, and the way it's put on the building, they call it the greenest residential in Singapore, which is hard to top the current existing green projects. But this one is like a dream, and of course, if you look at these weird balconies, science fiction type of things, they offer you privacy, and although you have a view out of the window in all directions, because there's actually only one apartment on each floor, which is, of course, quite something.
Yeah, this is quite something. And I was surprised to hear that the 20 tropical plant species were extensively researched for this project.
Yes, but in Singapore, you can stick a piece of wood into the ground, it will grow. So these were really special plants for this special type of apartments. And of course, people that live there can afford all these little amenities, like gardeners.
It's magnificent. Ladies and gentlemen, now things are getting serious. So let's take a look at the award itself. It consists of two components: the prize money of 50,000 euros, which is donated jointly by the architect and the developer, and then the beautiful statuette itself. It's made by internationally renowned artist Thomas Demand. It's a striking award. It consists of multiple wafer-thin layers of titanium. And these layers reflect the long process that goes into building a high-rise. A lot of ideas, a lot of plans, many concept presentations, data, contracts, lists of claims, agreements, and meetings. It's a tower of documents. It's really an incredible statuette, and I would love to have it on my mantelpiece. Unfortunately, I don't even have a mantelpiece. So the question is, who will win this wonderful work of art? It is now time to find out which renowned team will be taking it home. And it's the turn of Dr. Danne. He already has the golden envelope full of magic, and it's your honor to announce the High Rise Award winner 2020, Dr. Danne.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we come now to the most emotional moment of this whole celebration. I have to look who the winner is, and wow, the winner is Norra Tornen in Stockholm, Sweden, by OMA, architects from Rotterdam, and Oscar Properties. Congratulations.
Hey, välkomna!
Mia and Linus Kreutzer, a biotech manager and a banker, live on the 19th floor of Stockholm's first high-rise. They belong to the city's professional elite, are very well educated and have high standards.
Just an amazing view. Everyone's like, wow.
I think it's a quite exciting architecture that you don't get anywhere else here in Stockholm.
Norra Tornen, Northern Towers. Innovation stands 125 meters tall. Its twin helix somewhat shorter. Architecture in Lego look. Precast concrete elements, hundreds of bay windows and recessed terraces lend an encapsulated honeycomb appearance to the building and its 320 apartments. For Oskar Engelbert, the developer, there are only advantages using prefabricated elements.
As a developer, you have to think about sustainability. I also think that you have to be in front edge in terms of prefabricated. Let's not forget that these towers are made from prefabrication. So that's why we were able to build them so fast.
One story a week, in winter too. That is less expensive because it's quicker. And it makes the architects happy as well. Rainier de Graaf is one of Rem Koolhaas' partners. He explains the structural principle behind the building.
So the fact that it's very repetitive, for instance, allows us to make a building with quite a lot of facade surface, quite a lot of plasticity, deep balconies, very large windows. It allows us to engage in a certain luxury even in the smaller apartments.
The towers are reminiscent of the legendary Habitat 67 apartment building in Montreal. Is brutalism the subtle charm of the concrete slab making a comeback?
I take it as a great compliment when people compare Norra Tornen to the Habitat. Even though it's 50 years old, I think that project is also enduringly popular.
For a long time, Sweden was considered a prime example of an egalitarian society with evenly distributed wealth. Does this imposing towering structure reflect a social change?
10 years ago, I don't think people would have tolerated that in the same way they have done with these houses.
I would say that it's a statement of a new era.
Once you start to live in this kind of environment, you really start to realize that this I want in my everyday from now on. So I think the demand will get quite higher on this kind of lifestyle living.
By contrast, the architect believes that Norra Tornen celebrates equality and adds,
I've on occasion referred to this building as Plattenbau, which of course it is, but we do use a limited number of elements, which I think places this building nicely in the Scandinavian tradition of modernism with a human face.
And Oscar Engelbert, the go-getting project developer, puts his faith in fresh momentum for his old city.
I think that Stockholm needs to have more variety in the new buildings. So what I want to see is some ugly, some good-looking buildings. I want to have emotions when you look at the buildings that are being made, but I don't want everything to look the same.
For 800 years, gateways and twin towers have defined Stockholm's districts, created access and identity. But the Norra Tornen just scream out change. The new Stockholm is evolving on what was once a dismal area of industrial wasteland. Chic, hip and sought after, but not by speculators. Anyone who does not live in their own apartment must wait for 10 years before they are allowed to sell it, or face the possibility of high taxes. Like in almost all metropolises around the world, there is a shortage of affordable living space in Stockholm. The new lifestyle feeling up here costs between 9,000 and 11,000 euros per square meter.
People coming here says normally, wow, this is like New York, but in a Stockholm way. And that's a feeling you don't get anywhere else in Stockholm.
Do the towers have the potential to become new landmarks for Stockholm?
I think one of the great things in my profession is that most likely those buildings will stand there forever.
I'm not sure if they will be there in 100 years. You know, buildings that are prefabricated are very easy to construct. They're also very easy to demolish.
Pragmatic and with truly Nordic restraint is the opinion of the International High-Rise Award jury. Today, the towers are already milestones of residential architecture, unmissable. Congratulations, Norra Tornen.
Absolutely, congratulations from all of us here in the Paulskirche in Frankfurt. Yeah. You see us raising our invisible magnum bottles. Unfortunately, it's already empty. Yeah, and thanks a lot to our partner ZDF Aspekte, Matthias Hügle, for this marvelous film. Thank you very much. Let me now introduce the man who will give the laudatory speech, Benjamin Romano, the great architect who won the International High-Rise Award himself in 2018 for his magnificent building Torre Reforma, a breathtaking 246-meter-high office skyscraper in Mexico City. Please welcome Benjamin Romano.
Dear friends, as a member of the jury of the International High-Rise Award 2020, I am honored to express the jury thoughts for this nomination. However, I would like to say that it is a shame for me not to be able to share with you in person the celebration of this important recognition. After years of seeing non-sustainable glass skin facades, we at the jury became thrilled to see the Norra Tornen Tower, with its powerful and modern interpretation of the brutalism architecture. For many years, OMA Studio has led the rethinking of the urban architectural process. And clearly, Nora Turner is the result of the traditional OMA thinking. By creating habitable space living rooms into sheltered balconies that may be converted into shared space according with human behavior trends. Its terraces, shared spaces, balconies, apartment or penthouses harmoniously melt throughout the tower. The materiality of its brutalist expression is wisely colored like the Stockholm inner city traditional architecture, becoming a great gate into the city center of Stockholm. Rainer de Graaf wrote that the building was shaped through the simple play between two basic elements of architecture, the bay window and the balcony. A masterpiece in simplicity and modern residential architecture. I really can imagine the difficult task that the developers had with the Stockholm society when they realized that the project size. And still, the developers could get along with it. Congratulations for your tenacity and commitment. I would like to express my personal admiration for the developers and for the OMA Studio work. In my understanding, success is a positive accumulation of good decisions, both from the developers, from the architects, and from the city as well. Congratulations to you all. Greetings from Mexico, and hope to see you anytime here in my hometown. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Greetings to Mexico and thanks to Benjamin Romano. Please say hello to the beach from us. And now we hear the International High-Rise Award winners of 2020 from the Office for Metropolitan Architecture, OMA in Rotterdam, René de Graaf, and from Oscar Properties in Stockholm, Oscar Engelbert.
I'm very happy Nora Turner has won the International High-Rise Award from the Deutsches Architekturmuseum, so big thank you for that. We won this award, of course, together with our client, Oscar Properties, a Swedish developer whom I know is every bit as happy as we are. In all honesty, the award comes a bit unexpected, because I personally never thought of these buildings as high-rises. They're very different from the usual idea of a high-rise. They're not monumental, they're domestic, their aesthetic is informal, and they embrace variety more than they embrace repetition. However, now that we have won the High-Rise Award, I'm certainly not going to object to their labeling as high-rises. We're very, very happy, so big thank you from our side.
Thank you for this fantastic prize, getting the International High-Rise Award, which in my view is the most prestigious prize in this category. Is a big, big reward for my whole team and all the hours and years that we've been putting into these projects right now. 2 towers are there, and just by getting this prize, it was all worth the while. So a huge thank you and have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your party night in Rotterdam and in Stockholm. I hope you can able to have one, yeah. And as we just heard, the prize money of €50,000 will be donated to the Dutch experimental think tank Arches. Congratulations as well. I hope you party hard as well. Yeah, I'd say thank you all here in Paulskirche. Frau Dr. Ina Hartwig, thank you very much for being here. Dr. Matthias Dane, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And of course, thank you very much, Peter Katschola-Schmal. Yeah, and thank you very much to the invisible audience on the internet. We all think that you look very handsome, and talking of looking fantastic, I say we've seen fantastic projects tonight and high-rise buildings, and I hope and I'm sure this will be a great inspiration for the next International High-Rise Award. We do hope to see you all happy and healthy, and above all, face-to-face in 2021. Take care of yourself and your loved ones, your families. We say bye-bye from Paulskirche.